Welcome to the Rome Business School Career Toolkit podcast, where we help you navigate your career journey with insights from professionals across industries. My name is Carla, and I'm the founder of NiCons Consulting, which is a career consulting company based in London. Today, I'm very happy to have a special guest with us, Sylvia, who is a professional in the marketing industry, and more specifically, she's a brand solution specialist at Urban Vision in Milan. Welcome, Sylvia.
Hi, Carla. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's great to see you here. Sylvia, can you tell us a bit about your career journey since graduating in Milan?
Yes, of course. So I took a bachelor degree in communications in Milan, and then I decided to take a sort of gap year, but it really wasn't a gap year because I went working abroad. So I worked 1 year in Brussels in events
Mm.
for an NGO. So mostly I was living and working with the same people, and we were working for a junior enterprise that is called Junior Enterprises Europe. So I was there to organize an event, which was the Winter Conference. That is a big event that hosts usually 400 people from all over Europe. So after that, I had the occasion to talk with the responsible for my masterclass that offered me a scholarship for the masterclass at 24 Ore Business School, where I graduated in May in digital communication and social media management. And at that point, the good thing about my masterclass is that I was able to meet a lot of professionals. So one of the teachers was then my future boss, and
Ah,
I talked
okay.
with her. Yes, I had the occasion to meet her. So we went for coffee, and I talked with her, and I asked her, like, how did you got there? What should I do to do the kind of job you do? Because she's working in out of home marketing, which was very interesting for me, but was very difficult to reach because it's a very specific kind of
Mhm.
marketing. And she offered me an intern position, and I started working there. And then I stayed there for a permanent contract. So I'm still working at Urban Vision, which is my company. And I mostly work in out of home marketing, which means
Mhm.
activations that are connected to LED screens and billboards. There are advertising billboards. So I do something that it makes like the extra mile for the companies. So they buy the billboard space, for
Mhm.
example, and then they want to pair an activation. So for example, they pair a flash mob or something happening there, or if they buy a LED screen, they could add a 3D video or any kind of activation that is close to that
Mhm.
to, let's say, put some more effort inside the
Yeah.
activation and make the campaign work better.
Oh, that's great. That sounds very, very interesting. So, from what you are telling us, the key to your first professional success here has been to connect directly with the teacher you've met at your during your master course. Networking, it feels like it was the
Yeah,
key.
I really think networking is the key in this kind of situations. I was the tutor of my masterclass, so I had the
Mhm.
occasion to talk with every teacher a bit more than the others. But in general, like working with professionals and working with like studying in a masterclass where the teachers are professionals,
Mm.
it's way easier because you get in contact with them, so you have
Yeah.
a lot of occasions to talk with them and learn more.
Yeah. But I think on top of talking to them during the class, there is the extra step of
Yes,
keeping in
exactly.
touch.
That could also
And
be the coffee. That
of
it's not
course, yeah,
a
yeah,
big step. It's just talking with them and asking them how they got there and what you can do to arrive
yeah,
there, or if they have suggestions for you.
yeah. That's a very good point. I know a lot of students are shy. They think it might be a bit inappropriate to ask for opportunities, but it's the way. It's the way to do it. Of course, always in a professional way. That's great. But so you've been at Urban Vision for almost a year. And so what's the biggest challenge? What's been your biggest challenge since starting to work at Urban Vision?
Okay, so let's say I was used to work in agencies. I worked in an agency before leaving for Brussels, and usually I'm used to an informal kind of
Mhm.
environment with young people. But of course, when you enter a company and you're a woman and you're 24 years old, it's more difficult to be taken seriously. It's more difficult to talk with some people because they don't think you're professional enough or you don't
Mm.
know anything. So it happens to me that I actually have to train older people, like
Mm.
50 years old men, that maybe don't want to listen to me because I'm not,
Yeah, what
big
they would
enough.
expect, let's say.
I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest challenge also because
Mm.
my company is very commercial. So
Yeah.
it's very linked to sales and not communication, which means that, yeah, usually it's really a different kind of mindset.
And how do you overcome that? I mean, it's an ongoing challenge.
Yeah, it's an ongoing
How do
challenge.
you?
I've been trying not to get angry because it
Mhm.
doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been talking a lot with my colleagues to see how they do and
Mm.
how they interact with this kind of
Yeah.
people and situations. And I've been trying to be as calm as possible and answer in the most professional way. Of course, it's getting easier because my experience is growing. So, of course, then I actually have the expertise to tell them, no, it's not true what you're saying.
Yeah.
But of course, it's still complicated.
Of course, of course. But it's a journey, and
Absolutely.
of course you will also feel more confident with time, and that will help handle difficult clients, I would say, for sure.
Difficult clients, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. But you mentioned you do a very specific kind of marketing. So how is a typical day in your job?
Okay, so I usually take care of three different things during a normal workday, which are the first one is strategic plans for the clients. So it could
Hmm.
happen that we are proposing something to a client and we have to create a presentation for them in order to put in contact the product, which is billboards or digital LED screens, with the activations and special projects that we offer for them, and also looking for what they already do, where they invest, and if they actually have the money for it, and if they usually go for it, because there are some brands that don't invest in out of home because they don't know if how effective it is. So it's
Hmm.
also about convincing them that it works, matched with maybe TV advertising or social media campaigns, and that can be integrated. So you can do a billboard activation that is integrated with social media. So you take a
Okay.
photo, you post it on social media, and it happens to be on the screen. And so that's also strategic and creative because of course that every client wants something different and something new.
Yeah, of course.
And then once I create this presentation, I usually go with sales in the sales meeting with the client because the sales part is mostly handled by the sales that are
Hmm.
with me, and they talk about numbers, they talk about positions because of course being that we talk about a product that is very linked to a position,
Mm.
people buy the position. So you should buy a place very close to Duomo in Milan because
Right.
there's this kind of target and
Yeah.
there's this kind of people. And if you want to meet these people with your advertising, you should go there.
Yeah.
But then there's the magic that you have to add, so the special project, and usually it's easier if I go there because then I have expertise on what we can do and what we can't. So mostly I just have lots of different things ready, and
Yeah.
taking the brief from the client, I understand what to propose and what not to propose in order to understand what they like more, and bring home a brief where I can work and I can use the brief to actually make a better proposal. And then the third part is actually taking care of the project once the client buys it, because then they buy it,
Yeah.
and I have to activate all the suppliers and make it real,
Yeah.
which is also very challenging, of course.
Of course, of course. It sounds like it's a very easy job and that you got a lot of responsibilities in a
Yes.
very short time because you mentioned you started as an intern almost a year ago, and it feels now you have a very full day.
Yeah. Let's say
And
I'm not getting bored at work.
yeah,
Absolutely.
That's good to hear, and a lot of responsibilities and a lot of different people that you interact with. So one thing I always discuss with students is the importance of their soft skills, because from what you're telling me, of course, you have a lot of knowledge around marketing, around strategy, positioning. But on the other hand, it feels like the way you communicate, the way you engage with the clients, with your colleagues, how you present the project is what actually can make a difference.
Yes, absolutely. You have to understand which kind of client is in front of you, and that makes the whole difference. So, of course, the way you behave in a meeting is
Mm.
completely different for every client, and you can, go for just one project because you know it's the right one for them, or maybe it's a client that is very confused because often they just come and they say, we want something nice, something that no one ever has ever done, something wow. They usually
Yes.
say wow effect, and they say
Mm.
amazing and easy to share on social media and very nice. So,
Go viral.
yeah, exactly. That goes viral.
Yeah.
Possibly that would be great. So then you have to match the expectations, but
Yeah.
also match what you can do, because sometimes they just arrive with crazy requests, and you also have to deal with the production then. So you have
With
to talk with the
reality
people.
and budget, I would say. I'm sure
Absolutely.
that's
And then you
right.
have to talk with the people from the production, and you have to convince
Yeah.
them that it's a good idea to do it, and they will have to find a way
Yeah. I see the challenge. So a lot of mediation and negotiation involved into this, I
inside
would
the
say.
company
Yeah.
more than outside. Yes.
Okay. So that's a skill you're developing a lot more than probably you expected to do. Okay, that's great. But it seems like a very diverse job. What do you enjoy the most about working at Urban Vision?
I would say like really having the chance of being creative,
Mm-hmm.
because most of the time I just have to come up with things and ideas that I've never been done before, which
Mm,
means really thinking outside of the box and really trying to think differently. And it's very difficult because then of course one time is easier, it's easy, second time is easy. When you've been doing it for months, then of course it's more difficult to come up with something that you didn't think
mm,
about before.
yeah.
So it's always a challenge.
Mm-mm. And how do you keep up with the, because I guess to keep being creative, you need to get new ideas, new information. How do you keep up with that?
I would say usually like one of the first thing I do in the morning, we receive a kind of newspaper in the morning on an online blog that says all the news about all the companies. So what every
Mm,
company is doing. So I don't know, Pampers has a new campaign and they did this. So it's also about researching and seeing what's around.
yeah,
Also LinkedIn. LinkedIn could be a great way to, look around, because then you see something and you don't want to do exactly the same, of course, but you see some different ideas and you think about how you could match it with your brand.
right.
And oh, they did this, but we can change it a bit and propose it for someone else in a different way.
Yeah. So there is a continuous learning in a way,
Absolutely.
that is very, very important. And especially in the marketing industry, things are changing probably on a daily basis. So you have
Yes,
to stay
absolutely.
up to date, for sure. But what's the most surprising thing people don't realize about your job?
I think they don't really realize that half of the time we're really doing something that we've never done before. So
Mm,
most of the time we are trying,
yeah,
which is fun and it's very challenging. But of course, if you want something that has never been done before, it means that I have to do it for the first time and I have to learn while I do it.
yeah,
And I think most people think that it's way easier than
right.
it is, of course.
Yeah, there is this idea of creating something on social media online. It's easy. Everyone could do that.
Exactly.
So I guess, yeah, that's still a bias.
Absolutely. Also, because I mean, on social media, I worked with social media, and still it's very difficult that
Mm,
when it comes to production and to actually think about the materials of the thing
mm,
you have to produce, or talking with the, like, asking for permits to put something on the
mm,
ground because you can't in certain cities. It's like reality that challenges your creativity, but at that point you sold it.
yeah.
Like, you sold the dream, and then you actually have to make the dream come true.
I see the challenge and the obstacles that might come your way from different ways, for sure,
Yes.
for sure, for sure. But it sounds like a very interesting job that keeps you on your toes.
Yes.
So
And
you're not getting bored, for sure,
exactly. I'm not getting bored.
for sure. But I'm sure there are a lot of students from Rome Business School that ended their course and they maybe studied marketing and they would like to start their career in the marketing industry. What's your advice for anyone who would like to do a similar thing?
You mean like out of marketing or marketing in general?
Marketing in general. I mean,
Let's
what
say
you do
in
is, if you
general.
have any tips for your specific niche, great, but also general one.
Of course. I mean, I would really say networking is very important.
Hmm.
Talking with teachers, talking with people around you makes a difference, because a cold contact is not a good contact. If you will just be sending CVs without knowing the people you're sending them to, it will be way more difficult. It's not impossible, of course, but it's way easier if you know someone, and if you can ask, and just look around and try to ask to as many professionals as you can, also to understand what you want to do, because of course you can change anyways, but it's mostly about, okay, do I like this? How does this person works? What does she
Hmm.
do?
Yeah.
That's also a thing, because of course then we have this idea of roles, like I want to be a strategist, I want to be a copywriter. Yes, but
Mm,
what does that mean, like
mm,
in your
mm.
daily life? What does this person do? Is it enough? Will you get bored? Is it too much for you? And that's always something that is good to know, of course. Then every reality is different, but it makes a difference.
That's a very good advice. And is there a general like piece of career advice that you wish you had received earlier? Now that you started to, I mean, you already had experience, but maybe now that you are in a corporate environment on with a very stable job, what's your advice? I mean, that you would have liked to receive.
Yeah, I would say it's a more general advice, but I think I was a lot in a rush. I wanted
Mm,
to grow, I wanted to be in a company, I wanted to have a good contract. But then at the end, you reach that point, and I'm not saying I arrived anywhere, because of course I just started, but still, okay, I'm 24 years old. Did I do everything I want to? And that's a very important thing to ask ourselves. Like, there's not that much rush. It's good
yeah.
to just stop, to study, to do something else, to experiences, because also abroad experiences are very important, and completely change the mindset of the people. Which means that then, okay, sure, you will enter the job market a bit later, but you will enter with a kind of mindset which will absolutely make the difference.
Yeah, yeah. So to take the time to experience life,
Yes,
we have time to work, and then
exactly.
it's
We
a
have time to
45
work.
years
I remember my
journey.
father always saying that to me, like, Sylvia, you
Yeah,
have time to work. You don't have
yeah,
to run. You have time to work. But it was an objective, which
yeah.
is great for me, because I still did everything I wanted to, and I
Mhm.
will keep doing it. But really, like, there's not that big rush to it.
Yeah.
It's fine. You have time to work. You will work your whole life, so it's
Yes.
fine.
Yes, yes. So if you have a chance to do an experience abroad or a chance, yeah, to do other
Absolutely. To
things.
work in a field that is not yours, to do
Mm.
something else, to see as many things as possible.
Before you settle somewhere.
Yes, because of course, then, I mean, I'm not saying you're not free, because you're free anyways, of course, but it means you're in an office 5 times a week, and you will not be able, to just take a flight whenever you want and leave. And that's
Yeah.
a very nice thing to do when you're at university. I used to do it a lot. So
Yeah.
just do it as much as you can now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Enjoy when you're studying, or even when you're looking for a job, because I
Exactly.
know people struggle to find jobs, and obviously it might not be that easy to travel, etc. But even, go to networking events, do take part into different activities, engage with people, because even the job search is not just done behind a screen.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
as
Like
you told
most of it
us,
is going around and meeting people.
yeah, yeah, and try different things, especially people who are looking for internships might be the right chance to give it a go, before you commit to something more long term. So that's
Exactly.
great advice. That's great. Well, Sylvia, thank you so much.
Thank
You've
you.
shared a lot of very interesting tips, and thank you for sharing your experience, which I'm sure would be very motivating and inspirational for the Rome Business School alumni who are following these. And yeah, thank you very much for being with us today. And of course, we wish you all the best with your career journey, and stay tuned for more episodes on the Career
Absolutely.
Toolkit
I
podcast.
will. Thank you so
All
much. It
right,
was a
all right. Thank
pleasure.
you, Sylvia. My pleasure. All
Bye.
right. Bye. Bye.